Will, thanks for joining us. What 12 months?
Yeah, superb. I'm really proud of what we've done in the previous season. I know we're moving on very quickly into the next season now, but something that I'm really big on is spending time to reflect on what's been and what we've achieved, and the period of time in the off season give us as a staff team and myself some opportunity to have a think about the journey and how far we have come in such a short period of time.
And over that 12 months, there's been a lot of noise around the under-18s especially. Got to reel off some stats too. Had 7 players stepping up to make the first team debut. There's 111 appearances made collectively across them lads, with 74 coming in League One. And 5 second-year scholars joining steps 4 and 5 on loan. Just how big are them stats for you and the development of the academy?
When you reel them stats off there, it's an astronomical number really, in that the opportunities that the players have had to step up into senior football, because ultimately, in our opinion here at Port Vale in the academy, it's about getting them as ready as we can for the next steps. We've not got a 21s bridging gap between the 18s and first team, as that's pretty well documented and well known. But what we do is find a way, and our way is to make sure that the players are ready for the opportunity, and when called upon for the first team, that we try and give them as many tools as we can to ensure that, first of all, that they can survive in that environment and then thrive. And the ultimate aim for the players then is to try and stay in and amongst the first team training group, and then once they've showed that they're capable, it's then them building that trust with the first team staff, and initially that was with Andy Crosby and his staff team at the beginning of the season, and that continued with Darren and his staff team as well, and full credit to the managers that have been in situ, in that they trust the players. They've showed that they'll play them in big games. They've showed that the lads are capable of handling themselves, and that gives them that motivation and energy to keep aspiring to be a professional footballer. And for the players that didn't get offered a pro contract, it's always tough, because they've ultimately sacrificed a lot. They've given everything that they've got. We've had some real good people in the building, but not everybody can get through onto that first team pitch and put pen to paper on a professional deal. But something that we do really well at the club, in my opinion, is that we then get them ready for senior football and what's next. And the lads what have gone out on loan and experience that will be better for it now than coming out the end of an under-18s programme having not played a senior game. So for us, we're really proud of the players that have represented the first team, but we're just as proud as the lads which have gone out and gone and played and represented themselves in non-league football and represented the football club in a professional manner.
And you talked there about the bridge between the academy and the first team. How important is it, not just for the under-18s, but for every age group, to see that clear pathway, if they are good enough and if they are deserving, the chances there for them to take?
For me, Ben, it's everything. There's got to be something at the end for players that are coming through our academy, because ultimately, if we've not got a structure and a system which allows players that opportunity, that's what I've talked about since I came into the building, in that we'll provide opportunities if it's ready. If players are ready and that moment is there, then we'll do our utmost to try and make sure there's that solid pathway. So I think right back to when Darryl was here, to then Andy being in charge, and now Darren, I've worked extremely hard with the first team members of staff to ensure that we have got players ready, but also that we've got them existing relationships, and then that's built on trust then. And it's not just with myself, it's with the staff team, and it's making sure that there's relationships and strong relationships between, obviously, Wayne, Lee, the other members of staff within the first team, to ensure that when we're having conversations, the players are well known, and when they step up and train on a daily basis, they know all about the person as well as the player. So for me, it's that pathway is everything. When I stand up at the end of the season at the awards evening, and Carol and Kevin are there, Matt Hancock was there, Darren was there himself, and they stand up and talk about there will be opportunities for you at this club, but we then do back that up, and it's purely on it. The words are easy, but then it's the action and making sure now that we've had a brilliant season just gone from an academy perspective. obviously I'm as gutted as anybody that we couldn't remain in League One. But ultimately what we've got to do now is build and go again, and there's no other way. And we've got to ensure that that pathway remains open, and when players are deserving of that opportunity, that they're able to step into to take that chance then, and ultimately try and remain in that first team training group.
Let's talk about Bailey de Pepper. 10 plus years within the academy setup here at Vale Park. What a 12 months he's had scoring goals in the first team, and eventually going on and making his international debut for England as well.
Yeah, he's done brilliant, and again, when Bailey came in the building full time as a scholar, he was very quickly training with the first team, as many others were, and what Bales has been able to get in there and then cement a place within the squad really quickly, as other players have, such as your Jack Shorrocks and Ben Lomax took his chance when he played at Wrexham and stayed in that group as and when from that point on. So what Bailey's achieved in such a short space of time, it epitomises where the academy's at, where we're all working really hard to ensure that pathway remains open. And it's in my nature that just because we've had a brilliant season last season and the stats show that doesn't then stop there. We've now already spoken as a staff group, who's next and what is it that we're going after now in this next season. And I guess that's the team now driving forwards. We've shown what is possible, and now we've got to back that up again this season to show that it's then not a one-off, and there's players within our system now that are ready to step up and follow in Bailey's footsteps there. And my next challenge for the group of players is, who's going to be the next international?
And the successes around the under-18s, as we've spoken about, have been well documented throughout the last year or so. But the good work continues below that level as well. So we've got the youth development phase. We've had 2 players moving on to Cat 1 clubs. It's been well documented throughout the club. We've also had 2 under-15 players taking part in England talent ID camps too. How proud are you of that?
Yeah, it now shows that it's not just about the under-18s, and it's not just about the players that get into the first team. The academy, we've got 140 players within the academy, and the amount that the staff do each week to ensure that we put on a brilliant programme, that's testament to everybody that's involved in it. And for me, the under-18s, it is well documented that the pathway up to the first team's been there, and that's been superb. But then you look at the league fixtures and you look at the league standings. Well, actually, we're nowhere near. We're pretty much towards the bottom bracket of that under-18s league. But we can't have it both ways. We can't have players that are in the first team and be right up at the top of that. So it just shows, in my opinion, that we're opening up opportunities for younger players then. So in the under-19s Youth Alliance League, predominantly we're under-16s, under-17s. We're giving away a number of years, and that physical side of it does show. But ultimately, the knock-on effect of that then is our players what step up to the first team, they're also giving away that physical, that physical development side of things, and they've got to find a way to cope. So it's that domino effect that we've got to get players that are ready at a younger age. The youth development phase have had loads of successes. For us now, looking back to this time last year, was when I was talking to Newcastle United about Michael Mills. I think it was this time last year that he was just moving over to Newcastle, and they come in and approached us around that, and we negotiated and making sure that Michael then had that opportunity to go on to a Cat 1 Premier League club, and that was quickly followed by Freddie Laurie, who went to Aston Villa, and Freddie was spotted predominantly. People have been watching him because he'd been playing as an under-15 in our under-17s programme, but he was then quickly spotted at a tournament that we'd been at and a festival down at Oakham School, and then all of a sudden things move really quickly. The amount of scouts and interest that we have in our youth development phase is fantastic. That's what we're built on. Our model is that we want players to progress through into the first team, and I said this, a couple of fans forums, that we've got that model, but secondary to that is that people are going to come and want to try and take our players for their programmes, whether that be Cat 1, or slightly below that. But what we've then got to be is ready and able to negotiate the best opportunity for the player, as well as then maximising what the club then want and need from that. So, really, really proud that people are recognising our programme, recognising our games programme, the amount of invitations we now get for tournaments and festivals, and the amount of scouts that are at our games programme is now an indication of how strong and how much progress that we've made in 2.5 years.
And speaking of the YDP phase, it's quite a stat that 100% of the players that have been offered scholars at the under-16 level have already had experience playing for the youth team. How important is that to have that experience as they move through the age categories?
Like I mentioned before, I think what we've got to do is try and expose the players to what's next for them. And the only way of doing that is by getting them into the games programme at the right time. And what we do now within our age groups is make sure that we push players up at the right time, as well as getting games in their own age groups. And if need be, they will bounce down an age bracket. And it's all about individualising, the programme for the players' needs and the players' benefits. So it's not always about stretching and making sure that the players are playing up. Sometimes they've got to have success in their own age group. And then if we are going to certain football clubs and we're going age group for age group, there may be the odd occasion where we do bounce a player down because that's going to be beneficial for them. It's not always about an age group, it's not about the squad, it's about what the individuals need. And what we do really, really well is make sure that when the scholars are going out on loan or the scholars are stepping up to the first team environment, that opens a pathway for the younger players then to step into that age bracket. And then ultimately they've then got to do what the first team lads do. And first of all, they've got to survive, and then they've got to get to a stage of where they can thrive. So yeah, it's replicating what we do with the 18s and first team, then with the 16s and 18s as well.
And obviously, as we move down the age groups as well, there's a lot of successes to shout out between the under-9s and under-12s too. We had the under-9s, 11s and 12s all qualifying for Category 2 and 3 national finals, with the under-9s going on and winning theirs, and the under-12s later going on to winning the Premier League Coaching Craft Championships too.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier on, that we get invitations now to different festivals and tournaments. And when I first arrived at the club, we didn't expose the players in the same way, in that we weren't playing against Category 1 clubs, nowhere near as much as what we are now. But I was really, really keen to make sure that we're putting the players in those environments. And more than anything, it's creating memories for the players. And we want to be going to the big Cat 1s. We want our under 8s, when we're able to after January, to go and play against your big Premier League clubs. That's memories it'll stay with them forever. And that's the same with the older age groups. We want to make sure that we're taking age groups on mini trips here and there. What we can't do at the moment is be going abroad and going to different festivals, but we've got to find a way of making that happen, in this country. But what I am really, really keen on doing into the future is making sure that we are able to now go abroad and go and test ourselves in international festivals and tournaments. But the younger age groups, for me, are again excelling within the programme. It just shows, when we go to tournaments, that how well our younger age groups are now doing as well. And that when they do come through and get into the YDP age groups, I'm expecting the levels then to go up. And we've got to raise the bar every year. As I mentioned, that we're not going to settle for where we are now. Carol definitely knows that. She has said previously, I'm probably the most impatient person she's ever met. But she said to me, please don't change, because she knows that I'm driven. She knows that I'm not going to allow the programme to stagnate, and the staff team and myself are working really, really hard to ensure that each year that we get better and better.
You speak about the staff team there. Obviously, there's a lot of success on the pitch, but that doesn't happen without the support structure that you've got behind the scenes as well. Let's talk about their dedication. You see them walking in the office at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they don't leave the training ground till 9, 10 o'clock some nights. How important is their dedication, and how proud are you of them?
I thank the staff regularly and make sure that they feel valued. And I can't drive a programme on my own. It takes everybody within our staff team to work cohesively. It takes everybody to be driven, and it takes everybody to raise the level and raise the bar each year. We do have staff turnover. That's natural. People do go on to, you know, what they think is their next journey. So this summer we've been replacing Josh Brial with a new head of coaching. Christos, who's been our medical lead, Christos has now moved on to another football club. So we have appointed our next lead academy physio, which starts, you know, he starts on the 1st of August, which I'm really excited about. And again, we're at the final stage now in replacing Dan Waken's role with the lead analyst, which we're really close to. So it is ever evolving. Chris Stirk has just joined us as academy secretary for the operations team. And what we have got to do is now make sure that when we're bringing people in, that they're now going to raise the bar as well. The staff team that are existing, they welcome people in. But what we have also got to make sure is that we've still got continuity. And when we're evolving the programme and the staff are working and looking at, you know, what changes are necessary at this time of year, it's involving the new staff, and also it's making sure that we're efficient in what we do. Now, I'm really, really pleased with where we're at with the staffing structure. That's something I've worked really hard on, and making sure each year that change is necessary when it's required. But also we've got to make sure now that the staff team in there have all got opportunity ahead of them. I want people to develop. I've said quite openly, we're built on opportunity. That is for players, but that's also for staff as well. And, you know, for me, I really want to ensure that we reward staff at the right time. And what we have got to do is ensure that each person within the staff team is continually developing. If they're getting better, then ultimately the players have got a better opportunity to develop then as well. But again, I go back to how hard they work, you know, 3 evenings a week, Saturdays, Sundays, as well as the regular hours that they do. Academy football is really, really challenging. And what we have got to do is make sure that that staff group do feel valued. And we've you know, as a football club now, the alignment that we've got between the academy staff and the academy as a whole within the football club shows now the continuity that we've all got. And for me, I think we're working towards a cohesive plan now as a club without it being separate. And the academy definitely feel involved in what we're all striving for. And ultimately that's creating some unbelievable memories and opportunities for young people. And that's what we're all working towards. And that's why I'm really excited, because of the staff that I work with on a daily basis. That they're the main reason, as well as developing the players, why I come into work every day with a spring in my step, because we've got unbelievable people here.
And following the end of last season, there were a number of pro deals offered to youngsters within the under-18s. We've recently announced Jack Shorrock, Andrew Boer, Aaron Davies. Firstly, how rewarding is it for you to see them pro deals offered and the youngsters stepping up to the first team? And have you got any further updates for us on those that have been offered but haven't accepted just yet?
Yeah, the fact that we've offered 6 professional deals out this season shows how far we've come. And when I first arrived, the pathway wasn't as it is now. And what I would say, that 6 pro deals for a group of scholars is an unbelievable feat, and something that we've got to celebrate. And you know, the fact that Bales committed really early, as soon as he turned 17, shows that his commitment to the football club and what he wants to be here at the club. Jack Shorrock committing and putting pen to paper recently. Again, the manager and myself have been speaking with his agent over a number of months, and what we have done there is created that relationship now and that trust that they believe that this is the best place for Jack Shorrock for his future, as does Jack and as do his mum and dad. And again, you know, when I think back to January, Ben Lomax, again, very quickly got into the first team, and then all of a sudden that escalated really fast for him, and we committed to Ben, and Ben again was one straight away, didn't even have to think twice. He was absolutely delighted, and again has got a brilliant opportunity now, training every day with the first team, and again opportunity to break in and try and get as many experiences in that first team as he can. And then most recently again, Aaron Davies and Andrew Boer, and Darren and myself sat down with both players at the end of the season and offered them their deal, which I'm absolutely delighted for. Andrew came in as an under-16, as did Aaron, and very quickly they immersed themselves into our programme and became full-time scholars. And then that journey over the 2 years, it's not been easy for them. They've overcome injuries, they've overcome setbacks here and there, but that's football. It's not a plain sailing journey. And what Andrew and Aaron have both shown is that they've stepped up and trained with the first team, especially Aaron. Aaron's had a lot of exposure with the goalkeeping training group when Carlo was here, and now with Gary Walsh. So he's had lots of experience in and around that first team goalkeeper training group. He's not had any exposure yet in a first team fixture. Andrew has. He's had some appearances, came on in League One in the last game of the season against Cambridge, but also played against Newcastle and against Wrexham. So again, he's had that experience. So what they've now got to do is work it so hard every day to make sure that they're giving the best version of themselves in front of the staff, and also showing the first team squad that they deserve to be there. And ultimately, they've been given that opportunity because we believe in them. So again, they're the 5 players which have accepted their terms. Reece Walters, as it's been, it has been publicised that we've been in negotiations for, quite a long period of time. I spoke to Darren this morning. That situation's not changed. Reece, as people probably saw, came off with an injury in that last game of the season against Cambridge. He's still out injured as it stands at the moment. He's got a number of weeks yet before he'll be back fit. And what we have now got is a duty of care to Reece. So Reece is with us. He was in yesterday with the rest of the training group. Reece is now under our care, and until as and when that may change. But as it currently stands, there's no further news on the contract negotiations, and that is still exactly where it's been at.
And also, we can't talk to you and not mention the time that you spent in charge of the first team on a caretaker basis with Matty Doan and Danny Lloyd. Let's talk about how that experience was from your perspective.
For me, it was a fantastic experience, but it was also a real difficult situation as well. And when Andy and his staff team left the building, that's never nice. And we worked closely with Andy and Scully and David and Matt Doan and Danny work really, really close with them on a daily basis because that's what we want. But so it was a difficult situation, and it always is when someone leaves the club. But for me personally, as part of my development, it was a fantastic experience. And I've said openly, it was a real difficult situation, that Tuesday evening game against Leyton Orient. I didn't find out until late into the afternoon what role I was actually going to play. And then because of circumstances, which I completely understood, and again, I was, I guess, preparing for either or, whether I was going to be in a supporting role or a lead role. And I'd said the same to Matt and Danny, look, just be prepared that we may be supporting or we may be in interim charge. Now, obviously, when we got asked whether we wanted to, take that forwards, the answer was yeah, because we wanted to try and help, we wanted to support. Leyton Orient, as I said, was a difficult game. We were in there, the game plans were done and set, but what we did do, I think from the Wednesday on, it showed what we'd worked on. And the performance against Stevenage, it was more relief at the end. The fact that we'd got a point out the game. And when I say relief, it was, I still do think now that we deserved more out of that game. I think we performed really, really well. We had that 10-minute spell, the moments of madness where we didn't do what we'd said we were setting out to do to stop balls coming into our box and then defend our box. But what we did do for 80 minutes in that game was showed what was put in place during that week. And then we were set up ready to go for Peterborough. And when I think back to it, it was a crazy 10 days really, because we'd put the game plan in place for Peterborough. We were down there, we were ready. The players told me that they were ready and they felt ready. The feeling around the group on the back of Saturday's performance was that the players were ready to go for that game. Now, ultimately, we didn't get that opportunity due to circumstances with the weather, and the game got called off. And Darren had been announced that day at the hotel. So, when you piece all that together, it was a crazy 9 or 10 days, but a fantastic opportunity for us really good for Danny and Matt as well to support. We supported each other. The players were brilliant with us. And again, I know when I've spoken with players since, they thanked us for what we'd done, which shows that there was that mutual respect. And then, moving forwards again for the academy team having opportunities, that allowed Nathan Lamey and Dan Wakeham to step up and lead the under-18s for that period of time. So that had a knock-on through the academy, and the fact that everybody within that staff team at the time, yes, we were a little bit more stretched, but I was really, really comfortable in that. I knew the academy was being looked after by a brilliant group of people, and that then gave them the experience of what Matt and Danny do on a daily basis. So it allowed everybody to step into a different role, and for me that was brilliant for everybody's development within the academy.
We're now on the eve of the new season starting, and obviously a fresh 12 months for you in the academy. Let's look ahead to next year and let's see what does the next 12 months have in store and beyond for yourself, Will Ryder, and the academy.
Yeah, it's never about me. It's about us as a group, and what we're aspiring to be now is better than the year just gone. And we'll be having our next strategy day, which we have on a regular basis. We do 2 or 3 planning days a season. We've got our next one booked in right at the beginning of August, and that is us setting out our targets as a group and what it is that we're then going after. Because for me, again, it's not a case of this is what I want. It's got to be a case of what we want, and I can't drive it on my own. I can steer the ship and I can make sure that we're all pulling in the right direction, but it's everybody now setting out for what's next. The player pathway is obviously one that we're definitely going after to ensure now that we're giving the players the tools so that they're ready, and that opportunity comes, they can step in into the first team squad. But what I presented at the end of the season to Darren and the rest of the technical board was around B team fixtures. That's going to be something that we've not got a B team squad. We're not going to have a B team squad. I think that's really, really important to put that to bed now. The 21s group isn't going to evolve. We're 18s to first team, but that in between group, we've got to learn from last season around when players aren't playing in the 18s games and they're stepping up into the first team, that they're still match fit. And what we've now talked about is B team fixtures at the right time, whether that's against a non-league club on a Tuesday night, whether that's against another Cat 1 club, 21s, a 21s group, like we did at the back end of last season when we went to Wolves and played there. And we're going to try and treat that as a reserve game. When players are coming in, it's a proper game of football. We're trying to now go back a little bit where reserve football really, really mattered. And what we now have got to plan out over the course of the season, when them fixtures are required, to ensure that first team players, when they need minutes, our academy players, what are in the training group but not in our under-18s games programme, don't fall in that middle ground, and that we ensure that we've got a games programme what keeps them minutes topped up. So as and when required by Darren and the first team staff, they step in and the match fit. That's been something that I've identified over the course of the season. I spoke to Darren really, really early when he came into the club about making sure that players are game ready and they've got match minutes. So that's going to be an involvement of our programme. The Leek Town fixture next week is going to be one where it will involve some young professionals in there. We'll have the under-18s playing in there as well. There may be some other additional trialists possibly, but again, that's the start of the involvement of our programme now, and the first team staff having trust in what we're doing to ensure when first team players come into that group, they're fully trusting that it's going to be managed in the right way. They trust that the game's going to be appropriate. It's going to be making sure that it's going to serve a purpose, and that shows that alignment and link is ever growing and getting ever stronger.
Well, thanks for your time and best of luck next season.
Thank you.